Hey guys, we are here today talking about the Nike Alphafly Next Percent 2. Now, as we all know, this is pretty much the daddy and the pinnacle of super shoes at the moment. All of the studies done, studying VO2 max and studying energy consumption during running, this has topped the list for pretty much everything. That said, the actual version before this, according to a couple of studies, reduced energy consumption a little bit more than this next one. Now, the second version, I feel like has a lot of other beneficial upgrades on it that I didn't like over the first version. So we'll go through those. We'll start off with the upper. So the upper, once again, is Nike's Atom Knit. Really thin, really light, doesn't attract any sort of moisture, doesn't hold anything through there, really breathable, great stuff. One thing that I'm really happy about with this version is they've decreased the amount of elasticity in it. So this version here is now almost pretty much non-elastic. And that's great, that's fantastic. It helps lock my foot down, keep it in place an awful lot better. And they've done the same with the tongue. Although the tongue is still a knit, it is way less stretchy than the old version. And I found that the old version didn't always lock me down the way that I wanted it to. And my foot would move around a little bit. It was very easy to slip my foot in and out of the shoe. Whereas this one here, I struggle a little bit. And that's a good thing because once my foot is in, it's like a sock. So the overall fit is great. I'm happy with that. Not too tight across the forefoot, not too loose around the heel. The lace system, I'm really happy that they've added a lace hole on this one in comparison to the first version. Again, I felt the first version didn't lock my midfoot in quite enough. There were slightly different lace holes and lacing system on that first version, and I feel like this second version has dealt with all of those issues. So well done, Nike, on that. Around the heel counter, so the heel counter here actually does have an extra bit of cushioning and foam just to hug around your Achilles to stop any irritation. It does lock in your Achilles as well, so there's no movement through the back, I find, no slippage or heel slippage. One of the rare things on, I guess, super shoes and racers nowadays is the lack of a heel counter, and this one, believe it or not, does have that heel counter. So with the foam being slightly broader and the foot sitting into the foam a little bit more, the heel counter acts to then have your foot sit directly down straight into the foam, so you get the pop coming up forwards rather than it going sideways either way. So I really appreciate this having that extra firm heel counter just to stabilize that foot, to keep it in the right position on the foam for that maximum energy return. So that's the upper. Midsole wise, obviously we've got that full Zoom X midsole with the AirPods at the front. The new version, the Zoom X foam is slightly firmer than the old version, and you really notice that as soon as you put it on. With the old version, you'd really rock backwards as soon as you were standing in it, whereas this one tends to be that little bit flatter and actually live up to the fact that it does have a positive heel pitch. So this new one here has a slightly lower heel pitch than the old one, although on this one, because of the density foams, it to me feels like it's actually got a little bit of a higher pitch in comparison to the old ones. With this and the firmer foam to it, it does create an awful lot more stability. Through the inside, we do have a little bit of foam that wraps up just underneath the arch. This area here is very different to the old Alphafly in terms of how much it does support underneath your arch and contour through it. Now, there's been a fair few guys mention that they have blistering through this, and I understand that well and truly. Like the first time I put these on, I was like, no, don't want them. They're gonna blister. I don't think it's worth it. I'll wait till the next version. But once you start to bed them in a little bit, they actually work really well, and those blisters and everything tend to stop. So I just watch out for the first couple of runs. If you're having it, it might need to break in. Your feet might need to adjust a little bit to the shoe. So I wouldn't go out running massive big runs in them to start with. I'd stick with some smaller stuff close to home so that if you do need to swap it out, you can do, and you've got that option. Now through the forefoot here, we've obviously got the AirPods still, but they've also put a small layer of Zoom X foam just underneath it. Now, I felt like the old ones, you'd pretty much come onto your front of your foot and it would feel like you were on a bubble underneath. And this feels a little bit similar, but this one just feels a little bit firmer once again. I find that having the firmness on there gives me a little bit more pop in a few ways, just because I am a little bit heavier. Because I'm a bit heavier on the old one where it was softer, I noticed that it would compress. So I think that the old version is much more adapted to elite athletes, whereas the new version is far more broader base to it, where a heavier guy and a lighter guy can go for this and still reap the rewards and benefits from it. So I'm happy with the increased density, increased stability through there. Still get a great ride from it, still feel like you're popping off your toe. So they've kept the overall feeling and the methodology of the Alphafly there. What they have done as well is they've changed the outsole. So the outsole that I found on the old one, it wasn't the most durable outsole in the world. This one through here feels a lot more plasticky, a lot harder rubber, and it feels way more durable. They also have little holes in it, so you can see the Zoom X foam underneath. Obviously, I don't know if that's just to cut down on weight or just looks, but either way, I feel like the outsole has a substantial upgrade on the old one. We'll see how long that lasts as well, and there'll be a lot of other guys that can tell you if that outsole is slightly more durable than the previous version or not. We've still got the same side-to-side outsole parts for the heel. And then obviously the whole, not geometry, but the look is changing of the Alphafly, where it's gone from smooth curves now to squared off points. And there's a few different shoes. I mean, Adidas is a prime example. The original Adios, the Adios 3 now. The new one has a lot more squared points in it. It's less smooth, which to me makes it more appealing. So I'm quite happy with the change in the look as well. So yeah, overall, I still say that this is the top dog for super shoes. You can't really go wrong with it unless you really don't like that shoe hugging your foot and you get major arch issues. Then I'd say that this isn't for you. But for longer distances, if you just want to feel like you can keep going all day long, this is the perfect shoe. And yeah, there's not much better than this right now, in my opinion. So happy shopping. Go give some a go.